Hello, everyone, and welcome to Managing Manhattan. We are blessed today to be in the presence of greatness. We're going to be talking about hope and optimism in the New York City real estate market. Our guest today is none other than the legendary Bess Freedman. Bess, welcome to Managing Manhattan.
What a nice introduction, Dylan. So nice to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming, and I've been following your career since I've been in real estate for the past 20-something years.
We've known each other for quite a while,
It's a while.
Yeah.
It's a while. But to watch you grow and to run Brown Harris Stevens, the premier white glove brokerage firm of New York, like, how do you do it?
It's a privilege. I mean, it's not me, it's the team. You know everybody. I'm from Hall to Kevin to the whole group, Matt, who was just here, everybody here. I mean, we really do have the best team. It's never about one person. It's a team sport. And Brown Harris Stevens is all about that. And Alan Kersner was the COO. You know, everybody who works together, we fight like siblings, but we all work hard together and love each other.
No, you've got an incredible team. And watching just real estate over the past 5 years and the turbulence that we've all faced between the pandemic and interest rates and broker law changes, like that's a
lot of headwinds.
A lot of headwinds to come up against. But you guys have powered through it.
We're continuing to power through it, as you can imagine. It's never static. You know, this is life. It's always dynamic. And so we're continuing. We're going to keep going on and on.
We're going to keep going, and we're going to hope that the city and state stop throwing all these regulations at us. I mean, I see what's happening on the broker side, but on the landlord side, the amount of regulation that gets thrown at us, it's like, are you guys kidding?
It's crazy. It doesn't help. I mean, that's part of the fundamental problems in New York City as a whole, is that we have to enact smart legislation that helps the city to grow, to thrive, to have people invest, so you can do all the things you need to do. You don't want to send landlords away. You don't want to send rich people away. You don't want to send developers away. We want people to want to be a part of the city, and this legislation is just not smart. It's not common sense. We do need to have more common sense legislation.
Oh, we absolutely need it. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. I want to start by talking about a few data points that we've experienced over at Excel over the past just week alone. And these are, Excel doesn't do any brokerage, but we oversee the brokerage process for our clients. And just watching some of these deals that have happened in the past week, let me give you three of them. 215 West 90th Street. We put it on the market for $5,750. Within 2 days, we signed a lease for $7,000, a 22% increase over ask.
Wait, I need to stop you. What? You had that?
I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
1028 Second Avenue, put an apartment on the market for $2,500. Signed a lease in 2 days at $2,900, a 16% increase. 30 Park Place, down at the Four Seasons, downtown. Apartment was being rented by a tenant for $29,000. We considered selling the apartment. The owner wanted to sell. The tenant said, no, I want to stay. Give me whatever the market increase is. $33,000, a 15% increase year over year. What is driving this rental market?
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, not good for tenants, but great for landlords. Look, it's the high mortgage rates, which have not really come down. And I have to say, uncertainty in the market creates people's their mindsets sort of shift, and they think, well, I don't want to do anything permanent. I'm going to wait. And renting gives you the opportunity to, have a place for a period of time and then make a different decision. So people aren't committing to full, like they always say, it's dating versus getting married. They want to dip their toe in. And so the rental market just is this bullish market. It doesn't slow down.
It's been crazy. I mean, just watching this, and if I look at my whole portfolio, we manage around $7 billion in assets at Excel between Manhattan and Brooklyn. And I look at our vacancy rate, we have effectively a 0% vacancy rate right now.
Wow.
Every single apartment is occupied. We have some things on the market for future leases, but just watching this particular market, and as a landlord, we've been in business for 13 years, and just watching the past, 4 or 5 years ever since COVID, it's been kind of like a rocky road for landlords.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see this hope in the market. I feel bad for the tenant because I feel like
it's not affordable to, I mean, a lot of, I have, for example, a young woman who interned for me who's starting a job here in June, and she's 22 and she's looking for apartments. And it's so unaffordable. She's, desperate. She's looking with a friend, and it's hard to find anything. They can't afford it. on $100,000 a year salary, which is a lot of money, can't afford to live here. And the rents are going up. I mean, it's tough.
It's tough. But it also kind of speaks to your earlier point about all the regulation.
Yeah.
I think all of this populist regulation that's been implementing look, the whole one month security deposit.
Yeah.
If you were an iffier tenant, basically you can't get an apartment now because the city enacted that legislation. We can't collect more than 1 month rent and more than 1 month security. So before, if we were on the fence with you credit-wise or income-wise, we'd say, fine, more security and we'll rent you the apartment.
Can't do that.
Now it's go get a guarantor. But if you don't happen to have a rich uncle that makes $1 million a year, that's not an option. Our last and final option is, insurance or guarantors, one of these companies that'll guarantee your lease. But that's a month to a month and a half rent per year to get that.
That's crazy.
So you just artificially, by quote unquote protecting the tenant, I don't know how you protected the tenant, you drove up rent like 10 to 12%.
But that's part of what happens with the legislation because they're not really thinking about things and how they impact people. They think it sounds good and it looks good, but at the end of the day, practically it doesn't work. It's like the FAIR Act, which I know we're going to talk about and is still up in the air. Those things, we'll have to see how that impacts if it goes into place, into effect. But it doesn't work, and so those are challenges.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing we have to think about. Like everything you've enacted kind of backfired. And I don't think the landlords don't necessarily want this. Like the landlord would like the rent to increase. We all want bigger increases in rent, especially in light of all of the new costs we have between insurance costs going up and common charges and fuel costs. It's already gotten more expensive, but I'd rather, we'll talk about the fact later, but more of a free market system without all this red tape and regulation. It backfired. And I hope at some point the state realizes this. And much like, they're doing with all the other changes on the brokerage side, like you're not helping anyone.
No,
you're really hurting.
And, hope is never a plan, even though, people always are hoping, but we need to get good people in place to write new legislation, to push through, to power it. And, what landlords also want besides rent increases, more than that, I would argue, is they want reliable, consistent tenants in place who pay their rent and are good tenants. I mean, they'd rather have that because they can depend on it versus somebody who won't pay their rent because they have to pay their bills. People think landlords are like this rich pie in the sky people, don't have to worry about. No, they have to pay a mortgage. They might have investors. Sometimes they're just, multifamily units with, so people don't really understand the narrative. They want to have consistency and stability in their tenants. And this red tape, as you said, doesn't help.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, like the landlord has been demonized. And I always, say, everybody thinks the landlord's driving a Ferrari somewhere in Monaco. And that's not the case. I remember during COVID, we had this tenant, and that was when we had the eviction moratorium, and landlords couldn't go after you for not paying the rent.
Crazy.
And we had a tenant that did that to this owner, not realizing the owner actually was living in a nursing home and relied on that rental income to support the nursing home. So the tenant's like, I'm not paying you, ha, 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 go sue me. But on the other side of that wasn't some,
rich person,
rich tycoon somewhere. It's like an everyday person who happened to buy an apartment, in the 60s and 70s when prices were a lot more reasonable for the middle class. And then all of a sudden, like, his nursing home payments are being withheld.
That's horrible.
And we also need a court system that helps support it because, on the other side, we want good tenants. We want the tenants to pay the rent. And with all the restrictions you're putting on us, it's a little dicier because if I have to go to housing court, the amount of time it takes me to get a tenant out is unbelievable.
It's a nightmare. I mean, I think what would be helpful is to have discussions and communicate with people because, there's been a tendency in our culture to make things binary, that it's, rich or poor, that black and white. Everything is gray. The reality is nuance. And, we have to have discussions. Landlords are all sorts of people, and are there bad landlords who just try to drive prices up and are really rich and don't? Yes, of course, but there are also good landlords. And so I think we have to be careful. And these identity politics and narratives have been really corrosive all as a whole to society. And I really recoil with those.
Absolutely. Everything became incredibly polarized.
Yeah.
There's no more like moderate anymore.
I'm a moderate, I always say, we've lost a bit of that.
We've lost a lot of it.
Yeah.
Everything is polarized. You're on this side, you're on that side. There's no more moderate. I want to have a good life. I want to support my family.
Right.
I want to do right by other people.
That's what most people do,
that.
but most people really just want that, and so hopefully we'll get some new people, new leaders in place that can articulate that and be leaders and inspire other people to get on that bandwagon.
Absolutely. And just even within ourselves as a community and as a society, strive for the good and not this polarization and kind of the destruction. That would be my hope for
Dylan,
2025.
You have 3 children. And so you have, you really need to get vested in this. I'm with you too. I have 2 kids that are older, but we all want to have a better world for them.
No, it's going to be important. And having 3 kids, you look at the state of society today and you're like, okay, we need a better, we need you guys to be the leaders that carry us through, that make society sensible.
That's right. So true.
Now, we just talked about the FAIR Act. And to be totally transparent with everybody, I'm not a fan of the FAIR Act. I think we had a totally free market system where the market was bad. The landlord paid the fee. When the market was good, the tenants paid the fee. But now this potential legislation, which has been voted on, it's in litigation now. It's supposed to come out when?
In the summer, July, I think. And so it's not enacted as of yet, and that's still in process. We got an update yesterday, but I'm going to just let it play out and see what happens to it.
We got to see. But me as an eternal optimist, like what are the potential good sides of the FAIR Act?
It's hard to say, but I guess landlords would be able to charge more rent.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to hurt the tenants. So for landlords, maybe it would be an upside for them because they're going to have to charge more. If they have to pay for, things, they're going to charge more and to cover those costs. The other upside could be that tenants, it's hard for me to find because my concern is the transparency and where this information is going to be. If agents aren't able to put it up online, or if they're not, being hired by landlords because they don't want to pay the fee. So it's hard for me to see. The only upside I could see is if you're a landlord, is that maybe you're charging more. That's maybe it. I don't know. Is there another upside to it?
I mean, look, for me, there's a few. Number one, the rent increase, which I would rather us have the free market system of, how it functioned before. I think when we first started Excel Real Property Management 11 years ago, we did so with the intention of protecting the investment community. Here at Excel Real Property Management, we focus specifically on serving the needs of individual apartments, townhouse, and small multifamily building owners both in Manhattan and select neighborhoods of Brooklyn. Our services encompass everything: rent collection, expense payment, handling maintenance and repair, turnover between tenants, insurance needs. Literally anything that an investor would typically handle him or herself, we take care of for them. Whether you hold one individual apartment or a rental building that houses 20 units, Excel is here to help with all of your specific needs.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. We work with Brown Harris Stevens and many other top real estate firms, staging their homes to sell quickly and at the highest price possible. Our staging is affordable without sacrificing quality or design. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
Ultimately, this plan, like all the other laws, are going to backfire because rents are just going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Because in a way, it's a tariff now on the landlord. And just like the threat of all these other tariffs that we have, you're driving up the cost of goods. That cost has to get absorbed somewhere. And then there's a case that rents will go up by 10%.
I mean, yeah.
The one thing I do in a way, I don't know if I like it or if I don't like it. I continue to think about it to see is every time you listed an apartment before, there was always that debate of, do I pay the fee or do I not pay the fee? And here's the pros and cons of it.
Yeah.
Maybe the unification of system that we're all technically going to be no fee. Maybe that's a benefit and we're all kind of on the level playing field.
Yeah.
But that being said, I like to see a system where everybody benefits, where everybody wins. I want to win as a landlord. I want our tenants to win at the same time.
Of course.
But you've created this populist law of, we're not going to let those brokers take advantage of you anymore. But no, that's not going to be what's happened. We're just going to raise the rent. So
I think we'll have to see what happens if it gets enacted officially and what the impact would be or not. I mean, I like to let markets work the way they're supposed to. And yeah, there's been this sort of demonization of real estate professionals. And, people think they make all this money when the average real estate professional agent in this country makes about $50,000 a year.
50,000. Wow.
Yeah.
But I watched $1 Million Listing. I thought everybody made $7 million a year. Is that not what's happening?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the challenge is that, and that's okay. That's entertainment. That's not reality. And so, and 62% of real estate agents are women.
Wow.
And a lot of them, I say this over and over because it's such an important point. A lot of them are the breadwinners. A lot of them are feeding their families. A lot of them are single women. And so I think the demonization is just dangerous to our industry because the real estate professionals work 7 days a week. They only get paid for results. It's like Hall always says, like if the cleaning person comes and they do a terrible job, you still have to pay them.
Right.
With real estate agents, if they do a terrible job, they don't get any results. They don't get any payment. So it's sort of it's a grind. It's a hustle, and I would like us to be viewed in a different light. And I think there's an unprofessionalism that hurts us, which is in the reality TV sphere. It's sort of like on steroids there. Because
Right.
people are like, oh, they have a lot of money. Oh, they look like this. Oh, they don't do anything. They don't care. They don't care about my interests. And so that's not true.
Right. Yeah. Well, they portray it that way. And you see them at law. I've never seen an actual deal in real life be negotiated at like brunch and pastis.
Would you want to watch? But would you want to? Here's the question. Do you think anybody would tune in to watch what real estate agents really do?
Could you imagine what that show would look like? It's like you crying at 10
crickets.
o'clock at night, your baby's crying, you're trying to nurse, and somebody's flipping out because the flip tax is 0.5% higher
That actually would get people to watch because it would be interesting. But the majority of what agents do is not that interesting that people would want to stare and watch it. Like making phone calls, making appointments, looking at floor plans, getting photographs done of a listing, showing the apartment is usually, hi, here's the apartment. There's no like craziness that goes on. That is not what's going to be interesting to the public. They want to see chaos. They want to see like terror. They want to see unethical behavior. They want to see stuff because, people like that stuff. That's entertaining. Otherwise, it becomes boring and dull. Nobody would watch it. So I get that factor. I just hope people can extract what's reality and what, that you have to be able to differentiate.
Maybe we should launch through Brown Harris Stevens, like the world's first like real broker show and what actually faces. I'll do my own show too on property management because
I think TV is going away. I mean, I know that, I think like cable TV, but I think we don't want to be a part of that show. Sorry, Dylan. I'd watch you, but yes.
I would do the one because people see me speak and they see me smiling all the time. Like, wow, it looks so fun. I'm like, I spend about probably 14 hours a day getting yelled at about broken toilets. Somebody yelled at me yesterday because the tenant broke their food processor. It's not as glamorous. Property management is not as glamorous as
property management is not glamorous. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
And you're building trust all day long.
Absolutely. Between the tenants, the brokers, the owners, and, we are one of those professions that no matter what goes wrong, it's always our fault.
Always going to be your fault.
It's always our fault.
Of course
Why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that?
That's right.
But what could you do? So as we go into this rental season, a lot of our audience is the real estate brokerage community and the investment community. What should brokers be focused on? Like we just started rental season last week. We're going to go through this probably until late July, early August. Like what are some important things that brokers should keep in mind?
I mean, I think as you said, the market is on fire in the rental arena. So if you have listings, that's great. Make sure you have, really good photographs, make yourself available to show. A friend of mine who lives on the Upper East Side, she's renting, is looking for a new apartment. And she went into an open house and the real estate agent wasn't a Brown Harris Stevens agent, was really rude to her, was on their phone. I heard, all these stories. And I was like, you are in the service and information business. You have to be nice to people, whether you're going to benefit or not. And so I think agents just have to continue on the path of being professionals, taking care of each other, and be prepared. Know what's out there. Know what's coming on the market. Inform your potential tenants what's happening. And if you work with landlords, let them know what's happening. If you know that the market is on fire and you have a landlord that's has some units that they want to put on, let them know. Look, we just had a bidding war here. You have to constantly communicate what's going on because then they can get more. The price will go up.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just like that first listing that you mentioned that. went way over the asking price. These open houses are packed and people are vying for this inventory. So if you have rental units right now, get them on the market.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't compare this market to 2022 yet because that was gangbusters. But, that first thing I spoke about on West 90th Street, we had 30 people at the open house. They had 100 inquiries on the apartment.
Wow.
And 12 offers, which is insanity. And it shows me that, for this rental season, and if we're already we haven't even gotten in the full swing. We're going to get deeper into kind of the better movement in, late April, May, June.
When it gets
that's kind of the peak. But if it's already this nuts, if I were, a broker, I would make sure you're preparing if you're representing tenants, prepare them. Paperwork ready, like it's going to be frustrating.
Right. You want to have all your ducks in a row, so you're ready to go. So if you are in a situation where there's 10 or 15 people bidding, that you're somebody that they want to pick or select, and it's not just price; it's all the other things too. Absolutely. But price matters greatly.
Oh, price matters greatly. But with this emotion-driven market, when you're so 30 people deep in a crowd, it gets crazy. More excited about the apartment, and people start bidding it up, which. Again, I would rather have a good rent increase in line with expectations than somebody bidding it up on emotion and then regretting it later. But, you deal with the cards that you're handed.
And Dylan, depending on what's going to happen in the economy and as you mentioned, the tariffs, if things continue to be a little bit shaky or turbulent as they seem on and off again, I think the rental market will probably continue to be very bullish because people are waiting or holding off on big decisions in an environment that seems unsure. Uncertainty is not a friend of markets. So except for the rental market, it helps, especially when rates are higher than they usually have been, even though historically low. People are trying to sort things out. It's a confusing market, I like to say.
It's very confusing. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
Investors, this is your moment. I'm Scott Nadler with Cross Country Mortgage, and whether you're starting out or growing your empire, I've got the loan solutions to make your next move a success. Let's talk today.
All right, great. So we're back, and we were talking about the rental market and all the increases. We expect it's going to be a very bullish season. I was reading some stats from the Times about how much prices have gone up on the rental side year over year. Greenwich Village up 12.1% year over year. Forest Hill, Queens. To talk about moving out of the city, where do you go? Forest Hills up 11.8% year over year.
Love Forest Hills. It's such a great
neighborhood. Great neighborhood. But again, it used to be kind of the value play. But now we're looking at these prices. Soho 9.6%. Dumbo 6.9%. I mean, it's been from our perspective, a great season to be a landlord, with these increases. We are seeing some lagging neighborhoods a little bit, although I don't think this data is updated because they're claiming Upper East Side is down 2.3%. I think we're going to see that change quickly as people look for value and opportunity.
There's some more inventory too there. There's a lot of, things, but the Upper East Side used to be the place to live. I still think it's a great place, not just because I live there. But it's downtown Soho. These neighborhoods are just, in Greenwich Village. Hello, everybody wants to be in the Village.
We're in the Village. I'll say it's a wild ride down in the Village right now. If you've been down there, especially tonight, it's quite
fun.
a colorful. It's fun.
Washington Square Park is a lot of fun.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. We need a little bit of enforcement there. And I understand
a little bit of enforcement. Have you been on a subway lately? I mean, I take the subway. Yeah.
I ride the rails.
I mean, we do have rules and there are laws, and you're not supposed to pee on the subway. You're not supposed to sleep on there. You're not supposed to jump the turns. Like, there's all these rules.
Are there? Those laws still exist? No, I assume we just
those laws
burn them
exist,
in the fireplace.
But it's, people actually doing, that's where the challenge comes in. But hopefully we'll get a little bit of a cleanup. We'll see if we get a new mayor. We'll see what happens.
Let's see what the new mayor candidates are, who they're going to be.
We already know many of them. Cuomo, as you know, is running.
He's coming back, right?
Yeah, he's coming back. Scott Stringer is another one. I don't know if Adams is going to run or not. I have no idea if he's going to stay in or try. And then Brad Lander, and I don't know who else. So there's like so many people running. You could run, Dylan, if you want.
I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah.
That seems like a lot. I've got a
It's
lot
a big
of kids.
lift. It's a big lift. Yeah.
So tell me, as we conclude
Yeah.
this episode, what's the value proposition? Excel and Brown Harris Stevens do a lot of work together. What's the value proposition to Brown Harris Stevens between the agents and their clients? What's the value that Excel brings as a shameless plug for
No, well,
for my
but
company?
obviously, you know this, Dylan. You're an incredible resource to the agents managing properties. I mean, for their clients, when they have somebody who's buying something, it's an investment, whatever it is, your oversight, your help, everything. I mean, you're priceless to us. You do so much for the agents. You work with them, you help them, and what I hear from the agents is that you're always available.
Yeah.
You know, and I think XL as a company has been a great partner with Brown Harris Stevens. We've been really fortunate to be able to work together for so many years. Wait, how many years have we been working together?
Excel actually just turned 13 years old last week.
Oh my
So we
God.
started in 2012. We're somehow still powering through.
That's
We've been
incredible.
through, hellfire and storms and pandemics.
But you guys
and
have been
everything else.
growing
We've been
throughout.
growing. We've been growing through every market, and
It's
we're
incredible.
incredibly lucky to be in that position and strive every day to provide the best level of service we can to our clients, to
And you do.
always do the right thing and to be fair, regardless of situation.
Yeah,
So-
that's why we're good partners.
and we're grateful for all the support
Thank
you guys have
you
given
so
us,
much,
and we
Dylan.
look forward to continued relationship.
Always. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.